Step away from the painting. The security guard's warning silenced the center of the Charlotte Museum. Lina Morales lowered her hand before touching the weathered frame of the blue window. Nearly 200 guests turned toward her, their attention moving from her simple navy dress to the brass plaque beneath the canvas. Artist unknown. Hart Family Collection. Gabriel Hart stood beside her, close enough to see that she was not frightened by the guard. She was watching him. 9 years earlier, that same steady look had asked whether he trusted his wife. He had answered with silence. "She was invited," Gabriel said. Before the guard could respond, Victoria Hart crossed the marble floor. At 50, Gabriel's older sister still carried the authority of someone accustomed to controlling both the room and its version of events. "Invited guests do not reach for insured artwork," she said. "This woman once tried to steal that painting from our family." Whispers spread among donors and reporters. Lina did not defend herself loudly. "I tried to restore the artist's name." Victoria gave a cold smile. "The artist is unknown." Lina looked at the painted woman seated beside a blue winter window. She knew the brown underlayer near the latch, the broken brush hair beneath the varnish, and every adjustment hidden below the finished image. "No," she said. The artist was ignored. Gabriel felt the past reopen. In 2017, Lina had shown him a blue sketchbook filled with studies of the same scene. He had examined 2 pages before Victoria called about a foundation crisis. Later, he told Lina that believing the painting was hers did not prove it. 3 weeks afterward, she filed for divorce. Now Gabriel noticed the thin, burnt umber line Lina had described beside the painted latch. He remembered her exact words. "Brown beneath blue. Leave light near the window." "Why are you here?" he asked. "Because someone finally asked whose work it was." Lina produced a museum invitation. Victoria took it and read the handwritten message on the back. Her expression changed before she folded it away. "An administrative mistake changes nothing. I invited her." Dr. Naomi Pierce, the museum's chief curator, approached from the conservation corridor carrying a slim folder. "Miss Morales provided evidence for an active provenance investigation. She has violated no museum rule." Victoria turned toward Gabriel. "If you allow this spectacle, every donor here will question the Hart Foundation." Gabriel looked at Lina. She did not ask him to rescue her. She waited to see whether he would again protect certainty before truth. "She stays," he said. Victoria's composure tightened. "You have no idea what is behind this. That is because no one let me look." Naomi placed white conservation gloves on a nearby table. The gallery had gone completely quiet. "The foundation identifies this work as anonymous," she said. "Miss Morales claims she painted it in 2003. The museum found evidence behind the frame, but one final layer still covers the full attribution. Victoria insisted the examination should remain private." Naomi answered calmly. "The accusation became public when you called our research source a thief." Gabriel faced the painting that had represented his family for decades. "What do you need?" "Authorization to complete the examination," Victoria whispered. "Do not do this." Gabriel remembered closing Lina's sketchbook. "I should have done it 9 years ago," Naomi signaled to the conservators. "Then turn the painting around. Why do you teach us to sign our work when you never sign yours?" 3 months before the museum opening, the question stopped Lina during an afternoon class at Carolina Piedmont Community College. Rain blurred the Raleigh skyline beyond Studio C, while 20 unfinished portraits faced her from wooden easels. Maya Thompson, the student who had spoken, pointed toward a small landscape Lina had brought as an example. Its lower corner was empty. Lina taught every student that a signature meant responsibility, not vanity. Yet she had not signed a personal painting in 9 years. "Sometimes an artist needs time to trust other people with her name," Lina said. She redirected the class, but Maya's question followed her after the students left. Inside a locked desk drawer rested a sketchbook bound in blue cloth. It contained the studies for the blue window, the painting Lina created at 20 and sold for $425 at the 2003 North Carolina Regional Student Arts Fair. The buyer remained anonymous. Years later, after Lina married Gabriel Hart, the painting returned from storage for the Foundation's 2017 scholarship campaign. Lina recognized it in his mother's library. Victoria called her claim opportunistic. Gabriel asked her to wait until the campaign ended. Lina brought him the sketchbook, but he opened only 2 pages. The telephone rang while Lena was grading student work. "Am I speaking with Lena Morales?" a woman asked. "Yes. My name is Dr. Naomi Pierce. I am researching the blue window." Lena's hand stopped above the paper. "Then you may be researching me." Naomi did not dismiss her. She asked what color lay beneath the blue paint near the window latch. "Burnt umber. I changed the window from brown to blue and left a narrow line. The museum's scan showed that exact detail." Lena photographed each sketch, receipt, and dated note. 2 weeks later, she drove nearly 2 hours to a conservation facility outside Charlotte. The painting rested beneath soft lights, without the heart plaque. Naomi showed her a torn exhibition label hidden behind the frame. The title, date, and registration number remained readable, but hardened backing material covered most of the artist's name. Only Lena appeared. Victoria's office had delayed permission to expose the remaining letters. "Does Gabriel know?" Lena asked. "My preliminary report was sent to his office," Naomi said. "I do not believe he received it." Lena placed her sketchbook beside the frame. Naomi compared the studies with the painting and the state archive. The registration number matched a 2003 FAIR program listing Lena Morales. "What do you want if we establish authorship?" Naomi asked. "My name beneath my work." "No ownership claim?" "The Hart family bought the canvas. They did not buy the right to erase me." Naomi explained that the museum still needed authority to complete the physical examination. Lena agreed to provide certified copies of her records, but refused publicity before the evidence was secured. She returned to teaching and told no one. Hope had once made her careless with private things. She treated it cautiously now. 3 days before the opening, an ivory envelope appeared in her campus mailbox. Inside was an invitation to the Hart family collection. On the back, Naomi had clarified what she had found outside the unopened frame. "The state archive carries your full name." Lena sat alone beneath the lights, holding the invitation beside the blue sketchbook. For 9 years, people had asked her to prove that she existed inside her own work. Now the proof had invited her back into the room. "Remove Lena Morales from the guest list." On the afternoon of the opening, Victoria placed the printed pages on the museum reception desk and tapped Lena's name. Gabriel had spent 6 months preparing the Hart family collection, yet he had not known his former wife was invited. "Who added her?" he asked. "Naomi Pierce, apparently. She has turned a routine conservation review into an investigation." Through the gallery entrance, Gabriel could see the blue window beneath carefully adjusted lights. His mother purchased the painting at a regional art sale in 2003, when Gabriel was 23. It hung in her library for several years, then remained in climate-controlled storage until Victoria selected it for the Foundation's 2017 scholarship campaign. That return explained why Lena first recognized it near the end of their 4-year marriage. She stood before the canvas during a winter family dinner and identified details no casual viewer should have known. Victoria laughed. Their mother's memory of the purchase was uncertain. Gabriel wanted the conflict contained until the campaign ended. Lena brought him a sketchbook. He promised to review it later, and never did. The Foundation soon described her claim as unsupported. Gabriel called her departure an act of pride because admitting his own failure required more courage. "Why are the conservation files restricted?" he asked. Victoria folded her arms. "Naomi's examination is incomplete." "What did she find?" "Nothing conclusive." Gabriel walked to the painting. Naomi stood nearby speaking with a technician. "Did you invite Lena?" he asked. "I invited a research source." "Did you send my office a report?" 6 weeks ago. "I did not receive it." Naomi removed her glasses. "Then your problem began before today." She explained that the museum found a partial 2003 label behind the frame. The state archive completed the documentary record, but the physical surname remained covered. Victoria had declined 3 requests for full access. Gabriel returned to his temporary office and looked at a small, unsigned painting of a train platform. Lena gave it to him during their first year of marriage. The sky contained the same cobalt and gray used in the blue window. Similarity was not proof, but Gabriel finally understood how little proof he had attempted to find. Victoria entered carrying Lena's invitation. "The doors open in 20 minutes. There is no time to reopen your divorce. There was time 9 years ago. You asked me to handle the Foundation. I did not ask you to decide whether my wife was lying." Victoria met his gaze. "You wanted certainty. I gave it to you. The answer exposed the arrangement he had avoided naming. Victoria had controlled the evidence, but Gabriel had surrendered the responsibility to examine it. He restored Lena's name after Victoria crossed it off the reception list. She remains invited. If this becomes public, sponsors may freeze commitments. Students will pay for her need to be recognized. Gabriel remembered how often the foundation used innocent beneficiaries to end difficult questions. Accurate attribution is not vanity. A chime announced the arrival of the first guests. Gabriel buttoned his jacket and started toward the gallery. Victoria followed him to the doorway. If Lena approaches the painting, stop her. Why? For the first time, his sister hesitated. Her eyes moved toward the dark wooden frame. Because if she turns it over, this family may lose control of the story. If the truth is harmless, why are you afraid of the back of a frame? Lena's question reached every guest in the silent gallery. Victoria answered with a polished smile. Because serious institutions follow procedure, Miss Morales. They do not dismantle valuable objects to satisfy personal memories. Naomi did not raise her voice. This is the procedure. She explained that the museum had already completed photography, infrared imaging, and a materials review. The final step involved removing a modern paper barrier placed over an older exhibition label. It would not disturb the painting. Gabriel signed the authorization on the conservation table. His hand remained steady, but he knew the signature did not repair the years when he had refused to look. Two conservators lifted the blue window and placed it face down on padding. The ornate frame suddenly appeared ordinary from behind dark wood, old nails, inventory marks, and decades of dust trapped along the corners. Guests leaned forward without speaking. Naomi pointed to a label partly concealed beneath gray backing paper. The visible print read North Carolina Regional Student Arts Fair, 2003. Beneath it appeared the title, The Blue Window, followed by a registration number. At the bottom, only the first name remained exposed, Lena. Victoria released a breath. There were dozens of Lenas in North Carolina. Only one registered this painting under that number, Naomi replied. Victoria looked toward the reporters. A database entry is not physical proof. Lena stood several feet away from the table. She could have listed every brush and color she used, but she understood that the room was no longer testing her memory. It was testing how long authority could sound reasonable while avoiding evidence. Continue, Gabriel said. A conservator softened the edge of the modern barrier with controlled moisture, then lifted it a fraction of an inch at a time. The smallest sound was the paper releasing from the layer beneath it. Gabriel watched Lena instead of the frame. Her fingers clasped, yet her expression carried no triumph. She looked like someone waiting to learn whether a door had truly opened or merely changed locks. Victoria moved close to her brother. Stop this now, and we can complete the review privately. You made her accusation public. I protected the foundation. From the artist? Victoria did not answer. The barrier came free, revealing more of the old label. But the lower right corner was torn. The surname had once been there. Now only the first three letters remained more. A murmur passed through the room. Naomi photographed the result before anyone moved closer. The missing fragment prevents the label alone from establishing the full name, she said. Victoria's confidence returned. Then this performance has proved nothing. Not nothing, Lena replied. She pointed to a faint pencil notation beside the registration number. That was written by Mr. Ellis, the fair registrar. He used the same mark in my receipt book. Naomi opened her folder. Inside was a certified state archive copy bearing the identical notation. The matching registration number linked the canvas to a complete artist record. But before Naomi could present it, one conservator examined the frame under angled light. A raised line showed beneath the newer backing near the bottom rail. Dr. Pierce, he said, there is another sealed pocket here. Victoria's face lost its color. Naomi looked at Gabriel. This was not listed in any condition report. Lena recognized the blue thread caught beneath the paper. She had tied that thread around one object before selling the painting. Open it, she whispered. My original receipt is inside. The receipt changes nothing about ownership. Victoria spoke so softly that Gabriel almost believed he had imagined it. Naomi heard her too. She asked the conservator to pause while the museum's registrar documented the sealed pocket, the blue thread, and every person standing near the table. The guests waited beneath the white gallery lights, as procedure replaced spectacle. When the paper flap was finally lifted, the conservator removed a narrow envelope flattened by 23 years. Inside lay a carbon copy of the 2003 sales receipt. The paper named the work, the price of $425, the Hart family's purchasing representative, and the artist Lina Morales. A second line stated that physical ownership transferred to the buyer, while authorship and reproduction rights remained with the artist. Naomi placed the receipt beneath clear protective film and held up the certified archive copy beside it. The registration numbers matched. The handwriting matched. Even the small diagonal mark Lina remembered from the registrar appeared in both records. "The attribution is established," Naomi said. The words were calm, but they altered the room. A reporter lowered her phone. A donor who had laughed at Victoria's first accusation looked toward the floor. Gabriel read Lina's full name twice. 9 years earlier, he had treated her request for recognition as an emotional claim that could wait. Now the proof lay exactly where she had said it would be, behind the object everyone valued more than her voice. Victoria recovered first. "Our family never disputed that someone created the painting. We questioned whether Lina could prove she was that person." "You called her a thief," Gabriel said. "Because she threatened to remove property from our home." Lina turned to him. "I never asked for the canvas," Gabriel remembered. She had asked for a corrected plaque, a copy of the acquisition record, and permission to photograph her work. Victoria had converted those requests into an ownership dispute, and he had accepted the simpler story. "She asked for her name," he said. Victoria's gaze sharpened. "Do not rewrite your part in this." "I am not." His answer carried no defense. "I failed her before you did." For the first time that evening, Lina looked directly at him without anger. The absence of anger hurt more. Naomi announced that the museum would immediately replace Artist Unknown with Lina Morales and amend all digital records. The Hart family would retain the canvas unless a separate legal agreement changed ownership. Lina nodded. That was all she had requested. Yet Naomi did not close the folder. "The receipt resolves authorship," she said. "It does not explain why the painting entered the 2017 campaign with no visible signature." Victoria claimed the work had always been unsigned. Lina opened her blue sketchbook to a dated photograph taken before the student fair. Her younger self stood beside the blue window. In the lower right corner, a small signature was visible. "I signed it before the sale." Naomi displayed a high-resolution conservation image of the same area. Beneath a thin layer of later paint, infrared imaging showed the beginning of an L and the curve of an M. The overpaint did not match the materials used in 2003. It matched a restoration performed 14 years later. Gabriel turned toward Victoria. "Who authorized that restoration?" She looked past him toward the donors whose confidence she had managed for years. Naomi removed one final document from the folder. It was a 2017 treatment directive, bearing the Hart Foundation seal. At the bottom was one approving signature. "Victoria Hart, you signed the order that buried her name." Gabriel placed the 2017 directive on the table between them. Victoria did not deny her signature. Instead, she corrected his language as if precision could protect her. "I authorized a conservator to remove a distracting mark believed to be added later." Naomi opened the treatment report. The conservator had identified the mark as potentially original and recommended further research before correction. A handwritten instruction overruled that recommendation. "Proceed with toning. Maintain anonymous attribution for campaign consistency." Victoria's initials appeared beside it. Lina felt the old disbelief return. But this time it did not isolate her. Nearly 200 witnesses could see the sentence. "You knew there might be a signature," Gabriel said. "I knew there was a deadline." The Hart Foundation had announced a 5-year scholarship campaign built around the blue window as an anonymous symbol of overlooked talent. $4 million in pledges depended on a carefully controlled launch. If the artist emerged, Victoria argued, donors might question the campaign's concept, the reproduction rights, and the family's diligence. "We were funding students who had no other opportunities," she said. "I protected something larger than one disputed name." Lina's reply was quiet. "You used invisible students to justify making another artist invisible." Victoria turned toward the audience. She spoke about scholarships, after-school programs, and grants that had kept community studios open. Every fact was true. That was what made the defense dangerous. Good work had become a shield against accountability. Gabriel thought of the choices he had labeled practical throughout his career. He had often believed that protecting an institution protected everyone inside it. Lena had understood what he had refused to learn: an institution could do generous things while still harming the person standing in front of it. "Why did my office never receive Naomi's report?" he asked. Victoria hesitated. "I redirected it to counsel." "And her 3 access requests?" "Deferred until after the opening." "You plan to announce the painting as anonymous again." "I plan to preserve donor confidence." Gabriel removed his foundation pin and placed it beside the directive, at the cost of a false record. Victoria's expression finally cracked. "Do not pretend you were deceived. Lena gave you her sketchbook, and you closed it." The room seemed to contract around the truth. Gabriel did not look away. "Yes," he faced Lena. "I wanted my family to be right, because that required nothing from me. I called my silence neutrality. It was a choice, and it helped erase you." Lena absorbed the apology without offering immediate comfort. "An apology is not a time machine. I know. And public shame is not repair." "Then tell me what repair requires. Start by asking the museum, not me. I will not manage your conscience." Naomi proposed 3 actions: correct the attribution, suspend the exhibition's promotional claims, and begin an independent provenance audit of every work in the Hart collection. Gabriel approved all 3. Victoria warned that the board had not voted. "It will tonight," he said, "and you will not chair that vote." She stared at him, realizing that quiet authority had shifted away from her. Lena should have felt victorious. Instead, she saw a family confronting a wound it had taught itself to call policy. Then, Naomi's registrar approached with a tablet showing the foundation's reproduction ledger. The blue window had appeared on thousands of campaign materials since 2017. Naomi studied the total and looked at Lena. "There is one more decision," she said. "They did not only erase your signature, they profited from it. Do not offer me money before you tell the truth." Lena stopped Gabriel before the museum's council could discuss the reproduction ledger. Since 2017, the foundation had printed the blue window on invitations, scholarship brochures, donor gifts, and posters. The campaign had raised $4 million. Council proposed a private settlement and a joint statement. Lena recognized the old instinct: convert harm into a manageable number, then control the language around it. "No confidentiality clause," she said. "No statement calling this a misunderstanding." Gabriel agreed before council could object. Victoria stood at the far end of the table, while the foundation board assembled by video and in person. She insisted that every dollar from the campaign had supported real students. Lena did not dispute it. "Then those students deserve a foundation that does not teach them success, requires silence." The board's emergency vote lasted 12 minutes. Victoria was suspended as chair pending an independent investigation. Her access to collection records and museum communications was removed. No one escorted her out. She closed her leather folder, left her foundation pin on the table, and walked through a room that no longer rearranged itself around her. Before leaving, she stopped beside Lena. "You think they will remember your name now? They do not have to remember it forever," Lena replied. "They have to stop deleting it." Victoria looked as if she wanted to answer, but no defense remained that did not sound like the choice it had been. After she left, Gabriel asked Naomi what accurate repair would require. The museum would correct the plaque and catalog, publish the provenance findings, preserve the uncovered signature rather than repaint it, and credit Lena on every future reproduction. The foundation would contact recipients of earlier materials with a correction. Council calculated licensing compensation, but Lena requested that her attorney review it later. She would not make a financial decision while surrounded by the people who had denied her. Gabriel accepted the boundary. "There is one thing I can do tonight," he said. "Tell the truth without asking what it earns you," Lena answered. The museum reopened the gallery doors. Donors returned slowly, uncertain whether the planned celebration would continue. Gabriel walked to the podium beneath the foundation logo. Victoria's prepared remarks remained on the lectern. He set them aside. He identified Lena Morales as the artist of the blue window, described the evidence, acknowledged that the foundation had suppressed questions about attribution, and named his own failure to examine the proof when Lena first showed it to him. He did not call himself misled. He did not describe himself as courageous for correcting what he had helped preserve. Then he announced the audit and Victoria's suspension. When he finished, the room remained quiet. Lena understood that some guests were moved and others were calculating consequences. Justice did not require every witness to become good. It required the record to become true. Naomi brought a temporary museum card printed only minutes earlier. The Blue Window, 2003. Lena Morales, American, born 1983. Hart Family Collection. Lena placed it beneath the painting herself. Gabriel stood several feet away. "I am sorry," he said. "I believe you," she replied. Hope crossed his face, but she continued. "Believing your apology does not mean I am ready to trust you." He nodded. "What happens now?" Lena looked at her name under the blue window. "Now you live differently when no one is watching." Then she picked up her sketchbook and walked out before the applause began. "The artist is not returning for the photographs." Naomi's announcement disappointed several reporters, but Lena was already driving east toward Raleigh. The museum opening had been designed to celebrate a family collection. It ended by exposing the cost of protecting one. Lena did not want the corrected plaque turned into another Hart Foundation performance. She returned to Studio C the next morning with less than 3 hours of sleep. Maya noticed the blue sketchbook under her arm. "Did you finally show someone?" she asked. "Yes. Did they believe you?" Lena considered the question. The evidence made belief unnecessary. During class, she demonstrated how a painter could hide an early color without losing its effect on the surface. She used burnt umber beneath blue. Her students did not know why her hand paused near the painted window latch, but Maya saw Lena sign the study before placing it on the drying rack. It was the first personal work she had signed in 9 years. In Charlotte, Gabriel canceled the foundation's celebration dinner. He spent the night reviewing files that had previously arrived at his desk as summaries. The independent auditors found gaps in several acquisition records and 2 other artists whose names had been omitted from older family catalogs. Neither case involved deliberate overpainting, but both confirmed a culture that treated incomplete histories as convenient. Gabriel contacted each artist through counsel, approved corrected records, and refused public credit for doing so. He also sent Lena one email. It contained no request for forgiveness. He attached the full audit authorization and wrote, "You should not have to wonder whether I stopped when the room emptied." Lena read it, saved the document, and did not reply. The licensing review took several weeks. Her attorney negotiated compensation for past reproductions and a permanent credit requirement. Lena directed part of the payment into an independent grant at the community college for adult students returning to art after years away. The fund carried no Hart name. Meanwhile, Victoria resigned before the board completed its investigation. Her written statement accepted responsibility for the 2017 directive, but still described her decision as an effort to protect the scholarship campaign. Lena read it once. Accountability had begun, even if understanding had not. She no longer needed Victoria's transformation to validate her own truth. 6 months after the opening, the museum unveiled the conserved painting in a smaller gallery devoted to recovered attributions. The original signature was visible again, delicate but unmistakable. Lena arrived with Maya and 3 other students. Her new series, Windows After Winter, would open in Raleigh the following month. Every canvas carried her name. Gabriel attended the museum event, but did not stand beside the donors. He waited in the general admission line. When Lena saw him, he did not approach until she nodded. "The plaque looks right," he said. "It always should have." "Yes." He gave her a copy of the final audit, then stepped back. No speech, no expectation. Lena noticed the restraint because the man she had married once filled uncertainty with decisions. The man before her allowed her to choose. "I am getting coffee after this," she said. "Would you like to walk with me?" Surprise softened his face. "I would." "It is coffee, Gabriel, not forgiveness." "I understand." Outside, late autumn light crossed the museum steps. They walked side by side with a careful distance between them, speaking first about her students, then the audit, then the years neither could recover. Nothing was restored in a single afternoon. That was why the beginning felt honest. "There are 3 cups on the table, but no one is pretending we are a family." 1 year after the museum opening, Lena spoke in Gabriel's kitchen as Maya reviewed scholarship applications across from them. Morning light fell across the final audit beside the sugar bowl. The third cup belonged to a former student, helping 2 adults who refused to pretend healing was complete. After their first coffee in Charlotte, Lena and Gabriel met once a month in public places. Gabriel answered every question without asking her to soften it. He had resigned as executive director of the Heart Foundation and remained only through a transition period while an outside board rebuilt its governance. His decision cost him status. But Lena watched what he did when there was no audience. He forwarded records before deadlines, corrected people who called the scandal a misunderstanding, and never requested gratitude. Trust returned as evidence, not emotion. Victoria had begun consulting with a nonprofit ethics advisor and sent Lena a handwritten apology without excuses. Lena acknowledged receiving it but offered no reunion. Forgiveness, she had learned, could release a person from carrying anger without restoring that person's access to her life. Her own life had expanded. Windows After Winter sold out its first weekend. She used the proceeds to double the returning artist grant and reduced her teaching schedule to develop a new series. At every exhibition, she stood near her work without apologizing for being visible. Gabriel attended only when invited. On this morning, Maya was helping them evaluate applications for a regional mentorship program created jointly by the college and the museum. It carried Lena's name because she had finally agreed that recognition could serve others without becoming vanity. When Maya left, she took the third cup to the sink and smiled at the 2 adults who still spoke carefully around certain memories. "You both know silence is not always respectful, right?" she asked. The front door closed behind her before either could answer. Gabriel laughed first. Lena looked toward the table. A small blue ring box rested beside his coffee. He had brought it at her request. Inside was her old wedding band, returned after the divorce and stored with their legal papers for 9 years. Gabriel had offered to mail it months earlier. Lena asked him to keep it until she decided what it meant. Now she opened the box, lifted the ring, and studied the inscription. It recorded the date of a marriage that had ended, not a promise that must be revived. "I do not want the old marriage back," she said. "Neither do I. If there is a second chance, it cannot be a reward for one apology. It will not be. And my work, my name, and my choices do not become part of your family's redemption story. They remain yours." Lena placed the ring on the table rather than on her hand. Then she slid the box toward him. "Keep the past safe. Do not ask me to wear it." Gabriel closed the lid. Disappointment passed through him, followed by acceptance. "What may I ask?" Lena looked at the 2 remaining cups. "Ask whether I want breakfast next Saturday. Do you?" "Yes." It was not a proposal, a reunion, or a perfect ending. It was a choice made after truth, responsibility, and time. Gabriel reached for the application file rather than her hand. At the top of the first page, the applicant had signed in blue ink. He read the name aloud before anything else. Lena smiled. This time he read her name first.